signed a bill to repeal that.
Mylon has finalized a settlement to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to resolve claims it overcharged the government for the EpiPen. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts today revealed the pharmaceutical company and the U.S. Justice Department have completed a $465 million settlement. The agreement resolves Mylon misclassified the emergency allergy treatment as generic. USA Radio News.
Antiques, collectibles, and decorative accessories in a pleasant shopping setting are awaiting you at 144 East Baltimore Street in Greencastle. The shop offers a house full of unique antiques, many one-of-a-kind collectibles, and decorative accessories. Shopkeeper Chris Johnston invites you into the shop to browse in a relaxed and helpful atmosphere. Open Wednesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The shop proudly supports the programming of WRGG.
WRGG 93.7 is proud to be your community radio station. Along with news, weather, and information on the happenings around the Greencastle Antrim community, we are pleased to bring you many programs that we hope you find interesting and entertaining. WRGG is a non-commercial, non-profit radio station licensed to and operated by the Greencastle Antrim Education Foundation, a 501c3. Being a non-commercial, non-profit station, we rely on the generosity of local businesses and other individuals who help to underwrite our operation. But in order to bring you specialty shows, such as our gospel programs presented on Sundays, we need additional businesses, groups, or individuals to help underwrite that cost. All contributions to the station are tax deductible. Remember, your generous contributions will help continue the programming of your favorite shows and music. Please consider making that donation or sponsorship of a program today. You can mail your contributions to WRGG Radio, 113 South Carlisle Street, Greencastle, Pennsylvania, 17225. Or give us a call at 717-643-1688, and we can set up an appointment to discuss how you can help keep your favorite programs on the air. We are Greencastle Antrim's community radio station, WRGG 93.7, and on the web, WRGG.org. We are GA.
Here's our latest weather forecast for the Greencastle Antrim area. For tonight, increasing clouds with widely scattered showers possible. Low of 72. South wind around 5 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely for Friday. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 87. Wind from the southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday night, skies becoming clear. Low of 62. We'll have a light breeze from the northwest. Our weekend outlook for Saturday and Sunday. Mostly sunny skies with a high in the middle 80s for both days. For 93.7 WRGG, I'm meteorologist James Covington.
Thank you very much, James. And currently in downtown Greencastle, we have a temperature reading standing at 83 degrees at 93.7 FM WRGG and on the web at WRGG.org. WRGG, we are GA.
This is Chalk Talk, a program dedicated to Franklin County High School sports. Now, here's Gary Klein and John Freeman.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Chalk Talk as we start a new season. If I didn't fry my two partners over there.
I think you knocked that off a stool.
I knocked a little bit loud there, apparently, but welcome to Chalk Talk for another year. Gary Klein with John Freeman and Ed Gottwalls here as we are just a little over 2 weeks away from the football season. Is it hard to believe, guys, that the summer is going? I mean, come on, it's went so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, I remember we were back here in, what was it, the end of May, early June, when we wrapped things up for the year, and it seemed like, wow, August is so far away. It's never going to get here, and, holy cow, here we are. School starts. I mean, Chambersburg started today with schools. Greencastle starts next Tuesday. So, yeah, it's here. The team's been practicing for 4 days now, and, before you know it, we'll be talking about wrapping up football and talking about basketball. That's just how fast it
it goes in a blur sometimes of the football season. It's 10 weeks long, and it's almost going. It's almost here and gone. But there is a game at week 0 this week. James Buchanan plays Big Spring that first week, August the 25th.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
but I was thinking, when's the last time you heard anybody say the summer took too long?
Yeah,
It's
right.
always the other way around.
It's always it goes too fast. Yeah, it goes too fast. Well, tonight we are here with a very special announcement, and that is that we at Mid-Penn Broadcasting, along with WRGG Radio, are debuting a brand new sports site to cover local high school sports. It's the sportsblog.com, and sportsblog.com, your new source for Franklin County sports, something we've been working on and looking forward to. And we're very happy to say that longtime sports editor of the Public Opinion, Ed Gottwalls, is going to be joining us this year. And so glad to have you aboard here at Mid-Penn Broadcasting, Ed.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and Ed will be covering local high school sports, just like you have done for the last 41 years. Yeah, ouch. Hey, it's experience, Ed. You know, look at that, 41 years. That's a long.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah,
Kind of fun when you can start doing it when you're 4 years old.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, we will be covering, Ed will be with Chambersburg, Ed, some other, possibly other schools around Franklin County, but we'll be covering it, have pregame reports, also have the post-game write-up for Chambersburg. And also our goal is to cover every team in Franklin County with the local sports, Friday night football, as well as other sports. And we're also happy to say he cannot be here tonight, but Eric Reed, who was at the Public Opinion for 15 years, will be the correspondent for James Buchanan. And Eric will be covering the Rockets throughout the year in the football season, both home and away. And you'll be able to read Eric's reports on the sports page blog. Joe Dolan, who could also not be here for the show tonight, is going to be covering Wadesboro. And Joe, a graduate of Shippensburg College, Shippensburg University, and also Joe, a former Shippensburg Red Raider, as he played for the Red Raiders. He'll be covering the Wadesboro Indians. John's going to be doing some coverage of Greencastle with the pregame.
We'll see what I can do. Yeah. With so many other commitments, I'll do what I can.
Yeah. With some of Greencastle. Also, our camera operator tonight, Ruth Ann. And Ruth Ann is going to be doing some reports for us, too, on various schools and sports. And also, hopefully, we'll have a few more reporters on board here by the time the year starts. But started this, Greg Hoover and I talked about it, and it just appeared the time was right to do it. As local newspapers have been cutting back their sports coverage, and it's our goal to give Franklin and Fulton County the sports coverage that they deserve and that they were accustomed to for so many years.
That's going to be a big task, but there does seem to be a void right now, and hopefully we can fill some of that.
Yeah.
At least we want to try to get scores and some highlights and things like that out there.
Yes, basically scores, highlights, and game reports. But doing whatever we possibly can, to keep you informed with the scores in Franklin County High School sports. And of course, we'll also be live streaming football games once again this year. Greencastle and Chambersburg will have the live streams on for both the Blue Devils as well as the Chambersburg Trojans. And Greencastle games can also be heard here on WRGG 93.7 FM. And it's our hope to bring you some live streams of other sports also throughout the fall season.
Say it's certainly fall's the busiest sports season of the year for high school sports. And Greencastle alone has 8 teams participating in boys and girls sports. So yeah, certainly a very busy time to get things going, and should be a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people will be looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was always the biggest thing for us with the fall was you have so much emphasis on football, but there's so much else going on.
Oh, yeah.
And some really good stuff out there. So definitely the busiest time of the year.
Oh yeah, you have boys and girls soccer, boys and girls cross country, golf, field hockey, volleyball, tennis. Yeah, it's just a crazy time.
Yeah, it is the busiest of all the sports seasons, but local coverage has been cut back with the traditional newspapers, and something that you're very familiar with here, Ed.
Yeah.
With the local newspapers, as staffs have been reduced, and as you said, we're going to try to fill some of that void that has been left as a result of that.
Yeah, I think there's clearly a need out there for people. There's obviously a lot of people interested in high school sports.
Yeah.
And you can get a lot of that stuff on the internet in different places, but it's not really consistent. And we would like to be a source that's kind of consistent in terms of getting at least the scores and so forth in.
And the sportspage .blog is the web address. The sports page, THE sportspage .blog, and you'll have links up to it off of Midpen Broadcasting also. So that is the address that you'll want to remember for coverage of high school sports. Also hope to bring you live streams of some other sports this fall, such as soccer, and we're going to be talking with Ed about that. And
Ed's all for it.
Yeah, it's and some of the sports that you normally don't see. And as far as of course you've got your football and your basketball. Which is consistent, but hopefully we could bring some of those other sports to you too.
Yeah, in the winter, we've done the wrestling tournament at Chambersburg.
And we will do that again this year and we were talking about that earlier, and that has become a very large event in Chambersburg.
It has. It's got over 40 teams, I think, this year, and they've really got some very good additions. So it's not only big in terms of numbers, but it's big in terms of who's coming. I mean, it's definitely a class tournament.
And that takes place between Christmas and New Year's.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, at Chambersburg Area Senior High School. And, the Trojan Wars tournament.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
With the helmets.
Yeah,
Get the helmets.
That's really good. I mean, I know the kids, it's a big deal to them to win that thing. They got a metal Trojan helmet. I've seen some guys put it on their head right when they get the award. It's pretty cool.
It is a great idea.
Yeah.
And so we will be bringing you that once again this year. And you mentioned people do want to know, as you said, Ed, the scores, the stories on the games, and you've seen that. You've seen that by the sheer numbers of people who actually come online to look at those.
Yeah, that's what's really kind of, and I don't want to step too far out of bounds here, but the thing that really intrigued me about the cut down by Gannett, which is what the Public Opinion's parent company, is that high school sports was getting really good numbers on Game Time PA. And it's kind of hard for me to understand how they would just kind of whack that off, because it was doing well. It was doing, much better than expected, and it was continuing to grow every year. So there's clearly a lot of people interested in high school sports, and I don't think that's news to anybody.
No.
But the question is, how are you going to get that news to them? And we're hoping we can fill that void a little bit.
Yeah, and of course, getting the news to someone today is so much different than it was not too long ago.
Yeah.
Although some people may think it's ancient, but it certainly doesn't seem that long ago. You know, as far with all the electronic means available today, and the video, which has become very big also. Yeah, the video, but it's a little different than you used to have to wait and get your newspaper in the morning to find out, you know, what the scores were from the night before.
Right.
Yeah, and this is more, of course, instantaneous, and available, available right away. So
I think that's the biggest thing that Twitter has brought is that, you can get updates constantly. So, obviously if we have somebody at a game, you're going to get the results, as they happen.
And we plan to do that also. All of the games that we cover, we're going to be updating you throughout throughout the progress of the game on Twitter. And, we saw just this past spring some incredible numbers. We're talking about people interested in sports with the Chambersburg Lady Trojans. And their broadcast throughout the state playoffs. And, I mean, they were by the thousands, tuning in. It was an afternoon game and, a long distance away. So, and it was, and of course, we've live streamed for years and had some very big numbers in Fulton County, which was the all-time record in Fulton County, because you had two local teams in two different championship games in the same day or the same weekend.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was. It sure was. That a couple of years ago with McConnellsburg and Southern Fulton, and we're going to try our best to be able to cover that also. Somewhat, especially here, year-round. But, basketball is so big, I think, in Fulton County. So.
It is, and the gyms there are so small.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just either don't want to go or can't go or can't get in even.
Yeah.
And there's definitely – I remember the one game, I'm not sure if it was that district championship. I think it might have been the one before that we did. One guy was watching it from Alaska.
Yeah, right.
So it's there's some interest there.
Yeah, there is. From Alaska. Yeah.
He was probably the only one in Alaska
watching it, but yeah, it was there. And a lot of times you get viewers from all over the world. I mean, for one, you have the fans, you have people who have moved to other locations, and then I think you also have a number of people who just like to watch whatever happens to be, they're available. They run across something, and whether they're affiliated or not, just take a look at it and see what see what it's all about.
You can get if Greencastle and JB are playing basketball, you might have Shippensburg kids watching that to try to pick up something.
Yes.
So there's a lot of interest out there for it.
And as we approach the season, the football season, which is, as we said, actually less than 2 weeks away, and I know we talked a little bit about this on Friday night or Sunday night, John, on the Word on the Street with Mike Monadoro, but we'll go over again here. And John, who is the PIAA official, yeah, yeah, we're not going to give your phone number or anything out.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And there are going to be some pretty big rule changes, or not, some rule changes this year in football.
Yeah. And I meant to grab my rule book, but I grabbed my case book instead. But they still have the rule changes in there. I think there's 11 or 12 total rule changes for the year. Some are very mundane, no commercial advertising allowed on the football, things like that. But there are a couple pretty significant ones. And like you said, Gary, we talked about that on Sunday. The blind side block has been eliminated. That's one of those blocks you see quite a bit on change of possession plays, kickoffs and whatnot, where a runner or a player is running across the field, pursuing a runner, and they don't see the blocker coming from the side. And it's usually a pretty violent block, and you usually see someone go flying. Most rule changes nowadays are safety based in nature, and that's one of them. That will no longer be allowed. There is a little bit of a caveat though. If you use your hands for the block, it's legal. If you use a shoulder, it's now illegal. So that's a 15-yard. That'll be a 15-yard penalty. Hopefully, cutting down on, like I said, some of the injuries, some of the violent hits that we've seen in the past. Another big one, the pop-up kick, is now been made illegal. You see that on the onside kick when the kicker comes and just literally hits the top of the ball and drives it straight down and it shoots 10, 15 feet in the air. You see it a lot in the NFL. High school, I think it's a fairly hard thing to do, so you don't see it a whole lot in high school, but it's pretty much anytime you see an onside kick in the NFL, that's what you see. That's now illegal, and again, it's safety in nature. You have a ball shooting 10 feet in the air, and a guy's looking up, looking to catch it, and someone from the kicking team comes down and levels him. So, those are the two big ones I think that have the most impact on players.
Does that mean they're not going to be able to kick the ball on the ground?
Well, you can still kick the ball on the ground, and it's just the pop-up kick where you kick it straight down directly in front of the tee and it shoots up. You can do the old kick it may hit a couple times and jump up. That's still legal, but the pop-up kick is how it's defined. So that's illegal. So those are the two big ones. And like I said, some changes to uniforms. You see, one of the things you're going to see over the next few years, and this rule will go into effect in 2021, regarding home football jerseys, the color. You see, Waynesboro did this. They go to the lighter gray home jersey. And it can be kind of hard to differentiate between that and a white road team jersey. So you're gonna have to go with the dark jerseys. And usually when they put rules regarding equipment and jerseys, they usually give it a few years, so teams don't have to make the change right away.
They made a change just for Mifflin County's uniforms.
Yeah, boy, aren't they terrible, Ed? In both football and basketball. I mean, a lot of times in football, it's hard to pick up a number on a player as it is, let alone having to deal with something like that. It's silver numbers on for Mifflin County.
If they're away, I think it's like silver and black and purple or something like that. It's just, and there were a number of sports like that. And of course, in other sports like basketball, you're closer up so you can see it. But football was really tough to be able to figure out. So was soccer.
Yeah,
if I was up in a press box, I had to get the binoculars out.
Yeah. And in the Chambersburg press box on the home side, you're up there. And even Waynesboro football seems like their numbers are kind of hard to read at times when I've been down there. With the backs, the way they're just the color scheme they have. But of the rule changes, John, I think that's a very good one. I'm just sorry it's going to take to 2021 to implement it.
Yeah, I guess it's a little pricey to purchase 70 new football uniforms. So they're going to give schools a few years to get that in place. A couple other things: forward pass interference has been a modification to defensive pass interference. The old days of face guarding, which is commonly known as face guarding, where there's no contact, but you kind of play the receiver, stick your hand in his face. That used to be classified as defensive pass interference. That's been eliminated. So now if you see a defensive back sticking a hand in the face, playing the receiver, not playing the ball, that's now legal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's another one of the little things they changed. Defensive encroachment, now the defense is not, and you see this sometimes towards the end of a game where a team's trying to snap the ball around the clock and the defense will try and reach across and knock the snap loose. That's now illegal. If you touch the ball or the snapper's arm before they can complete the snap, it will be encroachment on the defense. So you have to let them snap the ball now. You can't try and time it and swipe it away and cause a fumble. So those are the big ones that we'll see this year as far as high school football goes.
And when you have rule changes like that, does it take a while to get acclimated to them as far as like the coaches are, if there's something, or are they for the most part, are they well prepared for this?
I think for the most part, they're pretty well prepared. These things come out usually in the winter. I think February is when they were announced. They really don't get a whole lot of discussion because no one's thinking high school football in February. But, if you go to the NFHS website, you'll see it. I think the press release was dated back in February. So everybody knew about it. They've known about it. And I think that, the coaches go into the season teaching the kids, hey, we may have done this in the past, but now we can't do it anymore. And they better learn because, it'll cost them. It can cost them in the game. So, yeah.
the officials are prepared, John. That's
We're as
Yeah.
prepared as we can be.
Yeah, that's
scrimmages. Like you said, that the season starts in a little more than 2 weeks, but the scrimmages start in a little less than 2 days.
Yeah.
So teams will be on the field Saturday morning, going at it against each other. They've had 5 days of beating each other up, and now they get a chance to beat up on another team.
So, and I think Greencastle and North Hagerstown scrimmage.
Correct.
Is it Chambersburg? Is it East Pennsboro this week? I know they have.
Chambersburg has William Penn on
William
Saturday.
Penn.
I think
Okay.
East Pennsboro's the second one.
East Pennsboro is week 2, so they have William Penn.
That's Saturday night.
That's Saturday night. So first of 2 scrimmages.
Correct.
And the one other change that Mike Bonadoro informed us about on Sunday night was the fact that next year that all the schools are going to move back 1 week and start in week 0. So they're going to start a week earlier, take the one scrimmage game, and start their season a week earlier. So it'll end a week earlier. The playoffs will start a week earlier.
To which we said, if everybody's playing week 0, just call it week 1.
Yeah, right. Why? It's no longer week 0.
It's the new week 1.
I'm not surprised. I kind of figured it might happen once the new cycle came in, for scheduling, because it was hard to make changes there last time. But now they've had 2 years to deal with it, so I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah, so we'll be starting the last week in August, with football starting next season. And we will be coming back with more on Chalk Talk. We'll be back with more coming up right after news from the USA Radio Network.
Serving the Greencastle Antrim community. We are WRGG LP Greencastle.
USA Radio News with Jason Wirt.
There was a second wave of people that ran through, and then that was followed by a lot of armed police. So they kind of came through the marketplace. They looked like they were sweeping the market area.
A witness to today's horrific terror attack in Barcelona, Spain. 13 people now confirmed dead, over 100 injured when ISIS terrorists drove a van through a crowd in a popular tourist area. The regional president of Catalonia says 2 terrorists have been arrested. Spanish media reporting a 3rd terrorist committed suicide after a shootout with police. Vice President Mike Pence expressed condolences on behalf of the nation.
On this dark day, our prayers and the prayers of all the American people are with the victims, their families, and the good people of Spain.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson speaking to reporters today, saying diplomacy the preferred action with North Korea. He thinks military should be the final option. USA Radio News. 70-year-old New York Army veteran Don Hall was forced to give up his guns when a hospital worker falsely claimed he had a disability. Hall was able to get his guns back after going into court to prove it was a false claim. But John Valesco of Gun Owners of America says making claims that disabled people shouldn't have Second Amendment rights is something that was pushed and put in place by the Obama administration.
The Obama administration had tried to do the same thing with Social Security disability insurance recipients and bar those people from owning guns. And thankfully, that was something that Obama did on his way out the door, and Trump signed a bill to repeal that.
Mylon has finalized a settlement to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to resolve claims it overcharged the government for the EpiPen. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts today revealed the pharmaceutical company and the U.S. Justice Department have completed a $465 million settlement. The agreement resolves Mylan misclassified the emergency allergy treatment as generic. USA Radio News. Pro-life groups are calling out a report out of Iceland that claimed to reduce the number of Down syndrome babies in their country by not mentioning in the report the number of Down syndrome babies were down because they aborted almost all of them. Melanie Israel of the Heritage Foundation talked to USA Radio News. She said one of the misconceptions about Down syndrome children is that they'll die young. She said life expectancy has increased significantly over the last 25 years.
I was only 25 years old in 1983, and now here we are just a few decades later, and life expectancy has more than doubled. It's now 60 years old.
President Trump not very happy with Confederate monuments being removed all over the country, and he's sounding off about it on Twitter.
In a series of tweets today, President Trump said, quote, "The beauty that is being taken out of our cities, towns, and parks will be greatly missed." He says it is sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments. Trump called it foolish, and again asked whether statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson will be next. At his controversial news conference in New York this week, Trump noted that Washington and Jefferson were slave owners.
Drivers in North Carolina being warned traffic will be a nightmare Monday as the eclipse descends on the deep south. The North Carolina Highway Department says it's expecting hundreds of thousands of people passing through the state. Interstate 95 through South Carolina expected to be jammed. Get more news online at usaradio.com.
Isolt's Air Conditioning and Heating of State Line, Pennsylvania is a proud supporter of WRGG. Your full-service air conditioning and heating business, Isolt's offers friendly professional service for all your air conditioning and heating needs. Whether it's a small repair job or you're planning on doing a major remodeling project, Robbie Isolt offers 30 years of qualified experience. You may call Isolt's at 597-7837. That's 597-7837. If it's done by Robbie, it's done right the first time.
Here's our latest weather forecast for the Greencastle Antrim area. For tonight, increasing clouds with widely scattered showers possible. Low 72. South wind around 5 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely for Friday. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 87. Wind from the southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday night, skies becoming clear. Low of 62. We'll have a light breeze from the northwest. Our weekend outlook for Saturday and Sunday, mostly sunny skies with a high in the middle 80s for both days. For 93.7 WRGG, I'm meteorologist James Covington.
Thank you, James. Currently in downtown Greencastle, 83 degrees at 93.7 FM, WRGG, and on the web at WRGG.org. WRGG. We are GA.
93.7 WRGG. We are GA.
Here's your Consumer Report update on WRGG 93.7.
Traffic deaths have leveled off in the first half of 2017, but the National Safety Council says they are still running 8% higher than the same period.
Welcome back, everyone. Gary Klein along with Ed Gottwalls and John Freeman tonight. Our first Chalk Talk of the season as the high school sports season underway with practices as of Monday of this week. And the team's getting ready for the season. And an interesting, I think it's going to be an interesting year, Ed, with Chambersburg football. Once again, any improvement can we see on the horizon for Chambersburg?
I think there's going to be some improvement. I don't know that the record's going to be a whole lot better because they do have an influx of young kids coming in. But my understanding is those kids are pretty talented. It's just a matter of you're going into the Mid-Penn Commonwealth. Yeah. You're not going to do that much as a sophomore unless you're exceptional. I've heard they have a couple exceptional kids, but you're not talking 20 of them.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I think I think there'll be some improvement this year, and I think next year is the one that everybody's kind of pointing at, saying they should have all the kids, of age that have experience and enough talent to maybe do something. And doing something doesn't necessarily mean win the league.
Yeah.
But at least being competitive.
Well, Ed, with the talented crew Chambersburg had back in 2012, 13, along there with the Jamal Pickett's and Kellum Williams. I mean, they were still only a 500 team in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth.
You're right. They were an extremely exciting team, however.
They were. They were very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have talked about this before. Realistically, and I don't think anybody would deny this, they should have won at least 2 more games that year.
Yes.
Which would have given them, I think, a home game for the playoffs.
And who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. But in that league, you just there's going to be a lot of good teams every year. You may have 1 or 2 that are down a little bit, but there's going to be everybody else will be up. So it's tough. There's no question about it.
Well, they had Chambersburg had the toughest schedule in the entire District 3 last year.
And I think, if I remember correctly, they have 8 playoff teams in their schedule this year.
Again, it sounds like
that
just
was,
like
it was
last
year,
year.
But I think it was 9 last year.
Yeah, and
So
and 8 teams who made the playoffs. And how many teams did they face? I know Mark Luther alluded to that late last season. They were undefeated at the time the Trojans played them. There were quite a few. You had,
I think there was like 4.
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, that were undefeated at that time, and I think as the year wore on last year with Chambersburg, things started, to come apart maybe a little bit. You gave up 60 points or so to Carlisle at the end of the year, and I think they lost some kids along the way late in the season, and overall though, Ed, it's hard to say, but it was a better 1-9 team. I've said this before than the 1-9 team the year before.
Yeah, I don't think their margin of defeat was quite as bad.
Right.
And I think they stayed in some games longer.
They did. Yeah, they sure did.
It's just, I mean, any football team is like this, and it doesn't matter what division or how big the school is. You have to have a pretty decent nucleus of good athletes. Even like if you're like Greencastle, James Buchanan, you got to have like 12, 15 really good kids to be the best team. I think in Commonwealth you probably need to have 20, 25.
Yeah.
and can't get them hurt.
Yeah.
And if you got kids in Chambersburg playing 2 ways more than say Cumberland Valley and Central Dauphin kids, there's a more chance of an injury. And it wears you down at the end of the year. There's no question of that. But I mean, I'm not, hey, they're in the league, they got to compete, and I think they're going to do a better job of it. Some this year, maybe a lot more next year. Hopefully, I'd love to see it. I know a lot of people would.
And Chambersburg opening of the season with Greencastle at Greencastle and at Shippensburg.
Yep.
And Mike Monadoro again told us Sunday night that Shippensburg has not renewed with Chambersburg. So this will be the last game between the two schools, at least for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that was in anticipation of what may lie ahead for Chambersburg.
So it was on them that they
Yeah, it was Shippensburg who dropped the agreement.
Shippensburg did. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Shippensburg dropped the agreement. Yes. And so, that'll be the last. And I'm not sure if Greencastle has renewed or not with theirs.
I kind of hope they do, because it's a great crowd no matter where they have that game.
Yeah, that's one of those games you'd certainly hate to see that game go away. And if you look at the way they've played, 7 times, and it's Chambersburg 4 wins, Greencastle 3 wins. So it's been a very competitive. I think the Chambersburg wins have been more on the blowout variety than Greencastle's won a bunch of a few tight games. But I mean, it's a great rivalry. It's a great measuring stick for Greencastle to play a 6A school. Even though it may be one of the teams at the bottom end of 6A, but it's still a great test week 1 to see where your team fits. So, and it's like Ed said, great crowds. They always pack the stadium at Chambersburg, and they pack the stadium at Greencastle for it. So, we'll see what happens. I haven't heard anything that says they aren't going to continue with that rivalry, but I certainly hope they do, and I don't see any reason why they should get rid of it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I hope that one goes for forever.
Yeah.
With great, and I hate to see the one with Shippensburg in. So
that was just kind of getting going here because Shippensburg has obviously been up the last few years, and I know. I mean, I know the kids were into it. There's no doubt about that. So it's things. I think the thing with the going to 6 classes might have been a factor there too.
Yes,
that's quite possible.
And after 1 year of this 6A. Any thoughts on either Ed or John? Was it a good thing? Is it too early to tell? Advantage, disadvantage for anyone?
I think in general I like it from the standpoint that gives more teams a chance to, have some success in postseason. I don't know that it really made a whole lot of difference locally in terms of, because most of the teams around here are kind of slotted in. I mean, let's face it, football, we're not any great shakes around here compared to the rest of the state.
Yeah, exactly.
So playoffs are not really that much of a concern, or maybe getting in them. But
the only thing I think where I saw the benefit was in basketball, where a couple of years ago, the 2 years before they put this into play, Greencastle was classified as a 4A basketball team. They were the smallest 4A school in the state. So now you're a Greencastle team, and you're going up against Carlisle. Carlisle and Reading, and Chambersburg, schools that are 2, 3, 4, 5 times your size. It's really hard to try and compete at that level when you're that much smaller than some of the other schools. So I think with Greencastle being in 5A now, they're playing schools a lot closer in size as they are. So I think it's, in addition to giving more opportunities for teams to make the playoffs and win championships, I think it's bringing teams playing each other at similar sizes. So I think that's one of the definite benefits. I really haven't noticed or seen anything negative. I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about it. So, you can criticize the PIAA, for a lot of different things, but I think in this case, I think they got it right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of other states do it.
Yeah.
Might even have even more classes. So it's, I'm not surprised at all they went to that, and I think they may continue. I've heard talk about track and field going to three classes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think you probably see other sports start to split out. Yeah, maybe not 6 for every sport,
Right,
but
right.
Maybe 4 might be a more reasonable number.
Yes, it's and as far as Chambersburg, I don't think it really made it. Yeah, they're in the biggest classification regardless
They're
what it is.
Yeah, they're always going to be big, whether
Yeah.
it's 10A or 2A.
Yeah, right.
They're going to be.
Yeah. So there was no. It's just less teams in 6A
yes.
than there was in the old Quad A, but a lot less teams. And Greencastle football, John. What are we? Well, what can we say? What can we expect?
We'll see. It's still early. The team last year that went 2-8, and one of those wins is gone because JB's off the schedule. As we know, as JB has left the Mid-Penn Conference for football. They'll be around for every other sport, but just not football. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we can say they're going to be better. I think it's kind of like a Chambersburg situation. I think they'll be better this year simply because they're bringing back a lot of kids. You have a lot of kids a year older and a year stronger. But again, I'm not sure how that classifies into wins and losses. I mean, if you look back at the schedule last year, I can't remember exact numbers, but I believe they scored like 144 points last year. Greencastle did and gave up almost 300. So not a whole lot of close games last year. I think you'll see the upper half of the Colonial Division moving down closer to the bottom half. I think Shippensburg lost a lot. They're not going to be as good as – they're still going to be very good, but they won't be as good as they were last year. Northern York lost a bunch of players. Waynesboro lost a bunch of players. Big Spring lost, a couple of players. So I think you're going to see the division a little bit closer competitively. As far as how many wins the Blue Devils can get, we'll probably save that for 2 weeks in our prediction show.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to come out and I think they've made some changes. I understand Brad Shear, the linebacker, has been getting some reps at fullback on the offensive side, which I think is a pretty smart move. He's a big kid, a strong kid, and I think he can help the offense out. Obviously, losing Demetrius Burton to the knee injury it was a huge loss for Greencastle. So, we'll see. They're going to be, they'll be the underdog in a lot of games they play, and they were picked 7th to finish last in the Colonial, and hopefully they can use that as some incentive to go out and maybe surprise some schools. I don't think the schedule makers did them any favors. Those first 3 weeks, those first 3 games are all pretty brutal with Chambersburg, Milton Hershey, and East Pennsboro. But, you get West Perry week 4, Mifflin County week 5, Big Spring week 6. That's maybe you can pick up a win or 2. And, you'll work your way through. Again, like we said, JB's gone. They're off the schedule, replaced by Twin Valley, which is a Lebanon or Berks County school.
Yeah.
So they'll be traveling out there for week 10. We'll see. It's certainly a team with not a whole lot of high expectations. So, hopefully they can go out and maybe surprise a few people.
And Greencastle has one of the toughest road schedules I've ever seen them have as far as distance. They go to East Pennsboro, they go to Northern, they go to Mifflin County, and they go to Twin Valley.
Yeah, I think for that Mifflin County and Twin Valley, and they'll be leaving on Thursday.
Yeah, right. Or else catching a morning flight out, right?
Possibly.
Yeah. Yes, and their only short trip is Shippensburg. And I bring that up because it's so unusual. We've had these years where their road schedule consisted of Wadesboro, James Buchanan, Chambersburg, and
nothing more than 10 miles, 15 miles.
Yeah, so they're paying for it this year. So.
The budget's gonna be hurting on that.
Yes, it is. All those road trips.
Yeah, good thing gas prices are still relatively low, or diesel, I guess, is a little bust. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, Blue Devils are going to be I think they'll be better than they were last year, and hopefully they can, that can translate into a few more wins.
Yeah, they were 2 wins last year,
yes.
Correct? 2 wins and 8 losses.
Beat West Perry and then beat JB in the final game of the year.
Those were the 2 victories for the year. So, and West Perry's still around. So,
Oh yeah. For now, I mean,
Yeah.
they're one of those teams that kind of float in and out of the Colonial for football.
Yeah.
So again, I guess after this year they'll rearrange everything and reset everything. So once next year rolls around, we'll see if they're still in the Colonial.
Yeah.
But for another year, they are at least.
Yeah, they have.
And they have to come here, so that's nice.
Yeah. That would have rounded out the road schedule nicely with the trip to Elliotsburg, right? And James Buchanan starting in their independent schedule. A lot of Maryland schools on their schedule. They open up, actually, I think the same way, well, not the same, Big Spring the first week, but then they play Fairfield in week 2, a team that they played last year. So, and
Camp Hill's on that'll be an interesting game. They have Clear Spring, Frederick High School. They're going to play West Perry, and then they'll end the season with, Smithsburg and Brunswick. So, nine-game schedule, which actually is pretty good considering the fact that I guess last October is when they decided to do this, and so give Larry and the bunch over there a lot of credit. They're able to put a schedule together. The kids will play 9 games, and like we've been saying for the past since last fall, hopefully they can start to get things turned around, and hopefully we'll see them back in the mid-pen here before too awful long.
I was kind of interested to see what schools they picked up. I thought they might go maybe not quite so much Maryland, but more like District 5 area, like Tussey Mountain, Northern Bedford, that kind of stuff. But none of those schools are on there.
No, they're not. They're mostly.
They probably had 2-year cycles because it's in the middle of the cycle right now. It's
probably tied into different games.
Yeah.
And it seems like the Maryland teams in Washington County have openings a lot of times. I think they have problem filling their schedule. Something that I read over there, I don't know if it's unequal teams, but they've had a lot of talk about the way the conferences were aligned and schools moving out of them. And so.
Well, if they have an uneven number of teams there, there's going to be some team off each week. So does JB have any buys in the middle of the season?
The September 22nd is they don't play September 22nd, and then they'll wrap up the season October 27th.
Okay.
So what'll be week 9 for all of us will be the end of the season for JB.
Yeah.
So they'll play 4 games, have a week off, and then come back to face Clear Spring on the 29th of September.
So there's 5 Marylands. There's Clear Spring, Brunswick, Smithsburg, Frederick.
Yeah.
The 4 teams.
Yeah, so 5 against Pennsylvania schools and 4 against Maryland schools.
Yeah. Managed to win 3-2 in Pennsylvania. Who knows? Maybe they can sneak into a playoff spot there. Yeah.
Well, if don't forget the Maryland games will not count for the power rankings.
Yeah, that's it. Yes,
yeah.
They could lose. Yeah. That would be a nice touch to it to somehow have them get into the postseason with.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
I think some other colonial schools might not like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And Waynesboro appears that they have had some pretty heavy losses. So.
Yeah, Brady Riddell, the running back, Forrest Ryan, linebacker, the quarterback's name totally escapes me. He was a senior last year. Cameron Keck, the great wide receiver, he's gone. So, Waynesboro still has some players coming back, some pretty good players coming back, but they've lost a lot of weapons offensively. So, it'll be interesting to see what they can do this season.
And I know Lizzie Arbogast last year told us early on, and I think it turned out this way, that Shippensburg would win more games than the rest of Franklin County combined. Because aside from Shippensburg last year, Waynesboro, really was, not a good year for Franklin.
I can't remember what Waynesboro finished last year. They were like
7-3. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Waynesboro, it was 7-3, or was it 6? Yeah, they did make.
They made the playoffs. They were the 8th seed in 5A.
Yeah.
So I'm not. Yeah. I'd have to look it up.
And
I think they might have been 7-3.
Yeah, they would have had to have a minimum 6 to get in the playoffs. But I'm thinking 7-3 is stuck in my head for some reason.
Yeah. And let's see, we had 2-8 Greencastle team, a 1-9 Chambersburg team,
0-10 JB,
and an 0-10 JB team. So it was.
Yeah.
They had registered more victories, but and I think even with Shippensburg's, the losses they've had, Northern, I'm not sure what's we never know about the Northern
Well, they
Polar
lost some key players. I know that.
They did.
The quarterback
Yeah.
for one.
Okay. So they could be, very much
They're going to be
down.
down
also.
compared. They'll still be down compared to last year.
Shippensburg still has to be the strong favorite, even with their losses, to take that division. Would you agree?
They've been very consistent.
They have been, haven't
how
they?
many years now?
Yeah.
So their program itself is doing the job. They just keep bringing in more players. They lose them and they bring other ones in.
Yeah, they bring back Carter Van Sire, the quarterback. Adam Hauser, the running back, is back. Obviously, they lost Cody Gustafson, Clayton Stein, the two wide receivers. I think one or two starters are back on the line for them.
They lost Tinner.
Tinner's gone. So I think they're not going to be as good as they were last year, but they still bring back a couple of really nice weapons on the offensive side. So that's why I think they'll be the team to beat in the Colonial this year. Waynesboro did go 7-3 last year, by the way.
So it was 7-3.
7-3 in the regular season. Lost first round of the playoffs to Governor Mifflin.
And of course, for years we've been saying about how Franklin County can never win in the playoffs. Shippensburg took care of a lot of that last year. Yeah,
that counts a couple games, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They were into the states, or actually
state quarterfinals.
State quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, you had three Franklin in a year where they took fewer teams in playoffs for football. You had three Colonial Division teams qualify for the playoffs. Yeah, that's a pretty darn good year.
Yeah.
You had Shippensburg, Waynesboro, and Northern York that that qualified and for the playoffs. That is a very good year when you have that many teams.
Yeah, exactly.
From this area.
Yeah, I think they'll be hard pressed to match that this year, though.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know where it's coming from. If there's going to be three of them. Yeah. And, of course, as we mentioned, the football season, week 0, James Buchanan and Big Spring on the schedule to start that off, and then it gets into full force there. Labor Day weekend on Friday, September the 1st. Everybody will be at action. And Greencastle this year, John and Ed, celebrating 50 years of football. So they were one of the last teams, I think, in this area, if not the last. Ed,
I think they were.
They were the last, yes.
I think James Buchanan had it before they did.
Yeah, and it was 1967. So
I was not working then.
Yeah, right. We actually predated Ed Gottwalls here. Yeah, I was in school at the time, and I remember they won the first game.
Oh, okay.
They beat East Juniata 26-7.
Wow.
But after that, they did not win a game for a few years. I mean, and maybe did not score the rest of the year. East Juniata was in its first year of football also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good matchup then.
Yeah. But the 50-year team will be honored, or will actually have a ceremony prior to the game and a get-together for anyone who has played football in Greencastle over the past half century.
Yeah, they're doing a really big event for that Chambersburg game, welcoming back anybody. If even if you played 1 year and never saw the field, everybody's welcome back. And like you said, they're gonna have a special program honoring that 1967 team. And yeah, it should be a great night. And keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully the weather's good for it, and hopefully Greencastle gives them a good game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Hopefully so, that if Greencastle can. And like you mentioned, the series has not been that dominant over the first 7 years of it, with a 4-3 advantage for Chambersburg.
Yeah, I mean, you think Greencastle playing the much larger school, you think Chambersburg would kind of roll over them, but Greencastle, like you said, they've won 3 games. I think 2 of them were won by field goals on the last play of the game, and the other one was kind of a blowout. I think it was 3 years ago.
There were 3 years in a row where the game was decided late, right?
Yeah. The first 2 years.
Field goal.
Yeah, first 2 years were, I think Greencastle was a walk-off, use a baseball term there, walk-off field goal to win. Then the following year, Chambersburg, that was the 43-42 game, I believe. The Greencastle missed a kick late that could have won it for them. So, it's been a great series.
Yeah, that game was
been
wild.
A great series.
Yes.
And even a couple of years ago, the game up at Chambersburg that Greencastle won in overtime, that was back and forth.
Yeah.
So, that was another great game.
And if I remember that 43-42 game, we had some long runs by the Cordells. I remember that. Jamal Pickett for Chambersburg. and there was some kind of razzle-dazzle by the Trojans that produced the score. I think
they had a halfback pass.
I believe from Pickett. Yeah. Yeah, I remember
that game being so hot, and kids were cramping up. And I know Cordell, Denver Cordell, just he wasn't there for a few plays in the fourth quarter when it was important.
Yeah,
but he just cramped up. It was probably like 85 degrees or something that night, and really humid.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
The joys of playing football in early September.
Yeah, you never know what you're getting.
Well, I mean, look at the Greencastle Milton Hershey game last year. Now that game was played on a Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
But that was like 95 degrees at kickoff. It was like 115 degrees on the field. And that was a rough one.
Yeah, it was. And it was like the turf.
Yeah.
On that, it was the turf, and it was so hot, and it was so hot it fried the equipment a few times that day trying to. Trying to get the live stream, but it was just that hot.
Yeah.
That and you know what computers do when they overheat, and there was no way to keep it cool. But yeah.
Just a question for you on that. What football official, if it's that bad, do they have provisions where they can sort of take breaks?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, the officials they can call timeouts for water, and we do it. You don't really see it at the high school level so much because most of the games are played at night. But in the youth levels when they're playing those Saturday afternoon games, we'll just take a few minutes out, to have them bring water in if it's because like you said, you get some of those games Labor Day weekend, and with the youth leagues here, they even start the week before Labor Day, so you're playing football on a Saturday afternoon, on August 25th, and it can get brutal. And it's actually it literally is in the rule book that says that you can stop the game for. Which makes sense. I mean, it's a safety issue. You're not going to, you're dehydrated and passing out. Sorry, you have to keep playing. It's not like the 1950s where, they used to do that stuff. Where deny kids water and, some of those horror stories you hear.
When I was refereeing soccer, we had similar things.
Yeah.
If it was like a mutual agreement before the game. If it got too bad, we just take a stop.
Especially with soccer where there's really no breaks in the action. You almost have to.
Yeah.
Where the kids are out there just running for 40 minutes nonstop.
Okay, you're listening. Talk on 93.7 FM WRGG and watching live on Mid-Penn Broadcasting. Bottom of the hour, we'll take a break for the latest news from USA Radio Network and be back with our final segment.
This is WRGG 93.7 FM and on the web at WRGG.org.
USA Radio News with Rod Williams-Dole.
The United States stands ready to assist the people of Spain and find and punish those responsible.
Vice President Mike Pence says the U.S. is in solidarity with Spain. The sleepy little area known as Las Ramblas, a shopping and dining area, was racked by terrorists. Rex Tillerson spoke out this afternoon.
The world should know the United States and our allies are resolved to find you and bring you to justice.
The Secretary of State made those remarks at a news conference with Japanese leaders in Washington, D.C. Crystal King said she never thought this could happen during her vacation.
I was at the neighboring restaurant, which is Burger King. I had to use the restroom. I ran into this restaurant, and as I was coming down, I opened the door. There were people screaming and crying. I was like, I've been in here for 3 minutes. What could have possibly happened?
USA Radio News. Vice President Mike Pence is cutting his South American tour short as the president deals with the fallout over his comments about violence in Virginia. This is Joe Gomez.
Vice President Mike Pence will return to Washington, D.C. so he can join the president for a meeting at Camp David. The discussion there is expected to cover the administration's South Asian policy, including the tensions with North Korea. In Chile, Pence said that he and the president have been clear on the tragedy in Charlottesville, Virginia this weekend that left one person dead. However, Trump has been widely criticized for blaming both sides for the violence at a white supremacist rally.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the military option is not the preferred option on North Korea. He also noted that the U.S. military is ready to respond.
And it is first and foremost, as you have seen, to undertake a very concerted, deliberate campaign of exerting pressure on the regime in North Korea.
This is USA Radio News.
Looking for a simple way to make a great first impression for your business? Start with having a great sign. Fast Signs can help you with simple, effective sign solutions for your business or special event. From banners to storefront signs to vehicle graphics or trade show graphics, we do it all. Let Fast Signs help you make a great impression.
Fast Signs now doing business at their new and larger facility, 20 Commerce Avenue, just off Route 11, south of Greencastle. Fast Signs, a proud sponsor of your community radio station, WRGG.
We have the best in gospel music just for you on the Gospel Fest Hour, Sunday mornings right here on WRGG 93.7. Join listeners from 130 stations around the world for a full hour of your favorite gospel artists. Hear from the pioneers of Southern gospel, vintage classics, and today's top gospel groups. You will not want to miss Gospel Fest, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock on WRGG 93.7 and on the web at WRGG.org.
Here's our latest weather forecast for the Greencastle Antrim area. For tonight, increasing clouds with widely scattered showers possible. Low 72. South wind around 5 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely for Friday. Mostly cloudy skies with a high of 87. Wind from the southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday night, skies becoming clear. Low of 62. We'll have a light breeze from the northwest. Our weekend outlook for Saturday and Sunday, mostly sunny skies with a high in the middle 80s for both days. For 93.7 WRGG, I'm meteorologist James Covington.
Thank you, James. And currently in downtown Greencastle, we have a temperature reading standing at 82 degrees at 93.7 FM WRGG.
From the Wade Lynn Studios in downtown Greencastle, this is WRGG 93.7. We are GA.
Okay, not exactly what we were looking for there, but welcome back to our final segment of Chalk Talk here on 93.7 FM, WRGG. Gary Klein here with John Freeman and Ed Gottwalls on this Thursday night. And we will be here with a Chalk Talk most Thursday nights here during the school sports season, throughout football, basketball season, and into baseball season. And fall sports are here. Practice has started. And want to talk a little bit, interesting article I saw that was written by Teddy Feinberg about, which involved students changing schools. In other words, moving from one school to another. And the results of that, one was the kid from Central York who went on to play at Northeastern. And now these moves are supposed to be not athletic related. And I think we're at the point where the PIAA is going to start, maybe enforcing this a little bit more. Did either one of you see this article here?
I actually did read it last week.
Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Teddy's from the York paper.
Yeah.
I know he'd been working on it for quite a while.
Yeah.
You want to lead this one, John, or?
It's so tough because like you said, Gary, by rule it's not supposed to be for athletic reasons, and but when it comes right down to it, if you're a kid, you want to change schools for athletic reasons, there are certainly ways to get around it, things you can do, things you can say. You hate to see it. You hate to see recruiting as it is. I mean, you hear that thrown around a lot with the private schools. But I mean, I don't know how you find a fix for it, because some kids have legitimate reasons, others are a little more shady. But I don't know how you differentiate and enforce a rule like that. So I mean, I don't know what you can do. If someone has an idea and can come up with an idea to make it work, I think it'd be a great thing. But I don't know if you can do it.
Well, I think it mentioned in that article there was a group from District 7 out near Pittsburgh that had put together a proposal, and I don't remember the exact parameters of that, but basically it was if you are transferring from a public school to a private school, then you must sit out that next season. If you could do it the other way and not sit out, like if you were at a private school and want to go to
Right.
public school, you would not have to sit out. and there were some other things too involved. Of course, there were some other, obviously, if it wasn't a transfer, like if your family moved or something like that, that would have been fine. I think the PIAA just sent that they have a committee now that's working on that subject, and I think they just sent that information to them. They didn't really comment on it or anything.
Right.
But it's out there, and I'm really curious to see how this goes, because I'm one of those people that think that the private and the preps and the charter schools and that kind of stuff have just such a huge advantage now.
Oh yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where there's just too much anger about it. You can say in theory every team has a chance to win, but realistically, if you're a basketball team in Philly and you bring in like 3 or 4, you graduate 3 or 4 kids, you bring in 4 more kids from other schools that are just as good. Public schools don't have that chance.
Right.
And it's just, you can say, well, it's just, competition. But some people really get worked up about it from the standpoint that their school's not going to have a chance to win a state championship, period.
No matter how good you are, or how
Right.
good you get, you just don't have. Yeah, the playing field's uneven, and you have no chance. And
Yeah, if you're like, for instance, if you're a small school like, say, McConnellsburg, you're going to have cycles like this last one here where they had a lot of good kids at the same time, maybe 3 or 4. That's as good as they can probably do.
Right.
And they didn't really, get a chance to do a whole lot in the postseason because there's teams out there. It's not quite as bad in the West, but in the East, you're going up against those Philly charter schools, and it's not a equal playing field. It just isn't.
Right, because you're picking kids from all over the city, outside the city, New Jersey, Delaware. Yeah,
that's the one that gets me is ones where the kids come from out of state.
Yeah,
that's the same like Bethlehem Catholic Wrestling. It's been such a big thing.
Yeah.
It's like that should not be allowed.
No, it should not be. And they come, and the Philly schools, the one Greencastle played, how many were a few years back? What was there, 3 or 4 starters from New Jersey? Or that was on the team. But how do you stop that? I mean, they're trying here, somewhat.
Well,
but
the only other thing you can do is have 2 separate playoffs.
I would be for that, but
they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But that, because I think what would happen is there'd be lawsuits flying.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Dr. Hoover was in here one night talking about that, and that's exactly what it is. There's pressure from the legislature, and just a whole mess way beyond the aspect of interscholastic athletics.
Well, I'll give you an example. When the reason why they moved girls soccer to the fall from the spring was because there were sets of parents who felt that girls soccer should be played in the fall because most of the country does. And in Pennsylvania, they actually had a fall championship and a spring championship. Some places played in the fall, like out in the West. Some places played in the spring, like around here. And they felt it diminished winning a state title, even though there more schools got a chance to win one. They felt it diminished the state championship, and they were pushing legally to get that changed. And that's one reason why. The PIAA won one case, but they spent a lot of money on it.
Right.
And by the next time it came around, some other states had lost cases. They said, "Okay, we give up.
It's not worth fighting."
No. So things like that. It's it may be better off for a lot of people, but some people are going to object, and you can't do it.
Yeah. And it diminished. They claimed that it diminished the state title because there was 2 of them in soccer.
Right.
And I mean, if you win a state title, you still want a state title.
Yeah.
It's without I would not look like it being diminished. You were the best of what was playing at that time.
Yep.
Yeah. Of the teams involved. And so basically, there's no hope that this thing will ever change. But
no, I think there's going to be some change because I think that committee was put together from the standpoint that we need to do something.
Yeah.
Even if it, even if they don't change a whole lot of stuff, I think if they do some steps to make it a little bit better, that at least will show that they're interested in making some change. But you're not going to get 2 separate playoffs. I'm sure of that.
No, I don't think that'll ever happen.
Well, in this case of the transfer, that mentioned in the article, the kid involved who was at, went from Central York to Northeastern, played his football, and then after football season of his senior year, goes back to Central York so he could graduate there.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
The one thing
makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, right. Was not athletic related, though, guys. Keep in mind. Yeah.
Well, the one thing is, around here, we don't see much of that. I mean, there really isn't much.
No. Fortunately.
Because we don't have any private school
Yeah.
in Franklin, Fulton County. And I mean, there are some kids from this area, I guess Greencastle, they could have the St. Maria Goretti, but that's completely different because they're out of state. And, you know, but, I mean, the one I remember was a kid from West Virginia, a wrestler who was really good, won a state championship down there, wanted to compete in Pennsylvania because it's the best state in wrestling. He hooked up with a coach who lives in Shippensburg, and actually he just died recently, unfortunately. But he was living in Shippensburg, coaching Trinity. So the kid from West Virginia would drive every day to Shippensburg, get in a car with I guess the coach and or his son, and go to Trinity. And he competed for Trinity for his last 2 years and won a Pennsylvania State championship. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was legal. It just seems kind of weird to me that
yeah.
I mean, he probably wasn't getting, you know, figured it during the season. If they had a match somewhere, he's not getting home till after 12, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
from West Virginia to
crazy.
And then getting up early because he has to drive all the way from West Virginia to Harrisburg.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that just makes you go, what?
It's like those gray areas, but it's legal, and but as you look though, you mentioned about the private public thing, but how many states? I think I read where 40+ states have separate playoffs for private schools and public schools.
But I think they've had them all along.
Yeah,
or
that's a key, right?
It
Because
is.
because if you'd have had it before, well, let's go back. How did at one time the private schools were not in with the public schools in the PIAA?
I remember back in my way back, I remember listening to like state Catholic playoffs. Like Bishop McDevitt and Delone and those teams would be involved in that. Then of course they got into PIAA and that changed there, and then of course you had a big change then when the Philly schools came in. I mean, look, I think everybody kind of knows that the Philly schools operate differently, and I sort of understand it. I mean, they're in a lot of cases those schools are not at a place where they really have many kids in that geographical area. So, and they have like, what's the one, math, civics, and science.
Yeah.
That's what they concentrate on. So if you're a kid who wants to study that, that's the school you go to. But at the same time, it's used differently because they draw kids. You know, they can go athletically. They want to go recruit kids for. And they can say, "Yeah, I'm going." Here was a story about about 3 or 4 years ago. Forbes Road had a pretty good boys basketball season. They went into the state playoffs, and they played that Lincoln. Well, I can't remember their name. Lincoln something or other. Performance Institute. I think it's what it was. And it was essentially for really good kids who want to get into music. So I heard this story related that one of the Forbes Road kids was at a foul line, standing down the blocks there, and he's like 6'1", and the kid beside him like 6'9".
No, yeah.
And he goes up and says something about, you know, can you sing the national anthem or something like
what
that?
What instrument do you play?
Yeah. And it was like, you know, he had no recognition at all. So it was like, it was like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
But you know, because they're a team in the lowest class of the state. Their front line was like 6'9", 6'8", 6'6", something like that. It's like,
isn't that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the case where there's 20 boys in the graduating class and 7 of them are 6'6" and above.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And just happen to play basketball.
Yeah.
So technically, we could start a school here. We could start a school, maybe even an online school, and recruit a great basketball team.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got the money. And
You got
somebody. You got somebody that can do some recruiting.
Yeah.
You can.
You could build a basketball dynasty.
Yep.
Yeah. And, but unfortunately, you know, I don't see the private public change. Now, the one football coach last year, Jim Williams, I mean, he really spoke out about this private public thing. Williams from, what was it?
It used to be the Manheim Central.
Manheim
Mike
Central.
Williams.
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
I was trying. Yeah, Mike Williams. He, you know, they interviewed him for the article, and he was really hard on it, and you know, said basically, so what if they get sued? Or as far
it's
as
not his money.
right, as far as the PIAA or whatever, or what constitutes the lawsuit. I mean, as far as if you're having a public-private division, I mean, you're still having two state championships. Is it the fact that you just divide it, public on one side, private on the other?
I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the legislature would get involved.
Yeah.
If you remember back a few years ago, PAAA had quite a battle with the legislator. They almost got disbanded. And that's the thing. They definitely have to, abide by what the legislator wants, and they're all for inclusion and all that kind of stuff. And plus now that it's in place like this, for you to tear down what you have and then rebuild it in two completely different ways, that would take a lot of money, a lot of planning, and boy, it'd be a mess. Yeah, it would. As much as I don't really like what's going on now, I don't see. I think the only thing it can do is sort of try to get a handle somewhat on finding some kind of rule that works for transfers. And I don't know it's out there.
Yeah.
Like John said, it's tough. There's a lot of different aspects to it. It's just sometimes it's one of those things where you can't prove anything, but you just know.
Right.
Yeah.
That it's athletic and
and
there's really no way they can fall back on it right now.
And you mentioned it not happening here, Ed. It happened somewhat in the Harrisburg area.
Oh yeah, I meant here.
Here in Franklin County. Yeah,
it happens a lot in Harrisburg.
It happens a lot because I see, and it was a kid last year. It was was with Harrisburg basketball. He was with CDE, so I recognize that name.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Well, there's the kid Micah Parson.
Yeah.
Started the season with Central Dauphin in football. And he transferred to Harrisburg in the middle of the season.
In the middle of
and he was ruled eligible. And Harrisburg went to the state playoffs.
Yeah.
The state championship game. And so, it's like, my understanding was, I guess there were some, I shouldn't say, I don't remember exactly, but I think there were some issues at school that, as far as like racial tension or something. Like he was called out by somebody, and his parents decided it was not good for him to be there. At the time, the way the reasons came out, it seemed like it was legit. It was not just, he didn't do it for athletic reasons, I don't think, because Central Dauphin's good too.
Yeah, that's right.
So to me, that was a legitimate move.
Yeah.
But it just, there's a lot of stuff in Harrisburg. You have to check the roster. If you remember, Penn Live has their football tab. Every year they had a little section, transfers, and they list all the kids at transfer schools.
Oh, yeah.
It was never just one or two.
Yeah, it was quite
like,
a few. Yeah.
It was like 20 or 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a story over the summer in basketball. DJ Hamilton, a player who played his freshman year at Northeastern York, then he transferred to York Country Day private school for his junior and sophomore year. He's coming back to Northeastern York to play basketball this year. Wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that Northeastern York's the defending District 3 champion.
And they lost one of their good players, I think, at least.
They're bringing back three kids, three outstanding kids. They're going to be the favorite to win districts again this year. But it's interesting that he just happens to come back to his home school for his senior year. So, and like I said, like the story says, the rich appear to be getting richer.
Yeah. Is this something like free agency, or are we going to see? Hopefully, we don't come to the point where we see being traded, or with the from one school to the next. Hopefully, it does not come to that, but it is with. And you mentioned that Harrisburg thing. Now, does a kid have to reside in are there exceptions where a kid does not have to reside in the district where they go to school? Or do you absolutely have to be within those boundaries?
For public schools, you do.
Yeah.
But you can always, like in some people's cases, if they can live with an uncle, that kind of stuff. There's ways to get around that.
Yeah.
But for public school, you have to actually have a legitimate residence there, not for the Philly schools. Though.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. They tried to put geographical boundaries on, let's say, Delone, how far out they can, have kids, come from. But I don't think those are followed very closely either.
Probably not.
I know that Bishop McDevitt, a lot of their best kids come from Philly.
Yeah.
So how they get around that, I don't really know. But it's kind of hard to put a definitive geographical limit on private schools because the rules just aren't the same.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, and it does, and it hurts tremendously as when it comes to the PIAA district and states. If you happen to be in that division, and it seems like I believe it was 4A is where most of the private schools fell last year.
I think in basketball, a lot of the smaller, I think you get a lot of those private schools, in the 1 and 2 and 3, just because and it's more in basketball than anything else because you can put a small school with 50 boys, and like we said, just 10 of them just so happen to be 6'6" and can jump out of a gym.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So.
I do think I did some research on this a couple of years ago, and basketball has always kind of been that way. But there's a lot of other sports that are kind of inching toward that. I mean, I went back and looked at like soccer back when we first started having state playoffs. There was almost no private schools that had it.
Yeah.
But now they're right there every year, and not winning as much as basketball, but similar. Football, look at those Philly schools in football. That Imhotep Charter and West Philadelphia or whatever. There's another one. I can't, but they've won like 2 or 3 in a row.
Archbishop Wood, I believe.
That's exactly who I was thinking of. Yep. Yeah. I mean, they'll graduate. You got to watch the state final, and they blow the team out, and you hear all these kids are going to different colleges, everything else. They come back the next year, they got a whole bunch of other kids going to. It's like, where'd they come from? Well, they brought them in.
They line them up.
Yep. And kids want to play. Get a program that good. Kids from outside the area want to play on that team, so they, sometimes they'll make the move just because they want to play on that good team.
Yeah, once you get that reputation of sending, you come play for us, you'll go play Division I, and like all the great players from 6 hours around are going to be flocking to go to that school. So
again, it's like Bethlehem Catholic in wrestling. I mean, they're really really good, and it's almost like Penn State at the college level. They've got a great program. Kids want to go there. The best kids want to be there in that program. So it's the same thing in high school. It's just a different level.
If you're one of the top 14-year-old wrestlers in the state, guess where you want to go?
Yeah.
And it appears that it's going to remain just the way it is right now, maybe with a few changes, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything quickly, but they are at least looking at it.
They are looking at it. And does that involve? Yeah, it does involve private schools, but it also involves the change there with kids going from one school district to another in public schools.
Yeah, I think there's not as much problems that way, but I think they're going to try to come up with a whole new set of regulations that they think can work, and good luck to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can have all the regulations, but then you need the enforcement to follow.
Yeah, and the PIAA is not set up to do that.
Yeah, right. They're not police. Right?
No, you can't ever expect that to happen. It's it's going to have to be between the schools, and even though other schools will be looking at this and stuff, it's still the transaction is going to have to happen between the school he left and the school he's going to.
Yeah, because it's a very to try to step in and overrule something like that, you better have a lot of facts to be able to do that.
Let's face it, you always have a lawsuit hanging over your head.
Yes.
A potential lawsuit.
And
PIAA, somebody like PIAA cannot afford to have that happen.
Cannot afford to have the right
because you're spending state money.
You're spending state money to defend. To defend that lawsuits. And very interesting, and you would hope. And how many teams? So many teams without that chance at a legitimate chance at a state championship as a result of the public or the private schools.
I think a lot of cases that's true.
Yeah, I mean, really, how do you compete? How does Forbes Road compete against the team that
just pulling kids out of Philly and New Jersey and Delaware?
In Forbes Road, a population of
6.
6.
They might graduate 20 or so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you face that in a district. Face that in a district playoff.
Yep.
Well, we have had so happy you could join us here tonight on Chalk Talk for this first edition of the high school season.
and we will be back every Thursday night right here on WRGG Radio and Mid-Penn Broadcasting to bring you Chalk Talk through the season. And remember, Sunday nights, it's Word on the Street with Mike Montadoro every Sunday night from 7 until 9 p.m. And remember, the web address for the new online newspaper starting this high school football season. So happy to have the paper and being able to report on Franklin County High School sports. And it's the sportsblog.com.
Sports page.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there I messed it up already. The sportspage.blog. The sportspage.blog. Yeah, thank you.
I'm not sure where the first one will send you, but
yeah, right. It won't be there.
Type in the first.
It won't be to the right place. That's for sure.
I'm gonna buy up the sportsblog.com. Gary sends people there.
Yeah, right. There you go. And you'll be able to go there Friday nights for high school football and throughout the week for stories and as many scores as we could get you. Happy to have on board Ed Gottwalls with us. And, you'll be reading from Ed as well as hearing Ed on the broadcast. John Freeman will be contributing. Eric Reed will be covering James Buchanan. James Dolan covering Wadesboro, and Ruth Ann will be updating us throughout the season on the scoreboard, trying to keep you up to date on all the scores. Thanks, John. Thanks, Ed, for being here, and we will look for you Sunday night on the Word on the Street with Mike Montadoro and Chalk Talk 1 week from tonight on Thursday night, August 24th. Have a great night, everyone.